then we're doing a disservice to the people that are like getting harassed and right. And I'm not taking like a super like crazy SJW stance here. Like it logically follows that if someone is going to like sit there and like be at every single person that ever like claims that they've been harassed, or they've been like someone said something like about their race or about the fact that they're trans or anything about their gender or gay or like whatever, why are we going to like sit back and say like, well, you know, we also have to be tolerant of their points of view?
Well, you aren't. Like, you're sitting here right now arguing that we should get these people out of the hobby. You are already not being tolerant.
And is there any problem with the company supporting the code of conduct in their stores or friendly local game stores?
Well, I think
No,
what
they're
the
not doing that here.
What? No, that's,
If
like,
they
that's
have a
kind of what
notice on their
doing.
door saying, these are the rules we demand for you to step foot in our store, okay, private property.
Yeah, no, they're saying if you step foot in our store, then don't like start like saying some like horrible to people, right? Like, I mean, like that's like a very dumbed down version of what they're saying, but they're saying like, we in this store are going to accept you if you're gay, straight, trans, black, white, Asian, whatever. We're going to accept you. And if you're not going to respect people on those bases, then we don't want you in our store. It's not necessarily saying that you can't buy it because there's online stores, right? When we get a couple of people in, I usually pull about 10 people at a time, but after posting that this was going to happen, about 50 people started following me. So I'm sure we're going to get a couple in. But the first point of contention that I want to bring up, Arch, explain to me the Nordic tradition of putting bananas and mayonnaise on pizza, because I feel like that is a hate crime against Italians and humanity.
Oh, we don't just do that. We put French fries on pizza too.
What?
See, that's less egregious, but still disturbing on many levels.
I'm still not a fan of cheese on fries. That's ugh. I'm not a fan of it.
Well, you can go out too.
Depends. Like, if you've got those kind of, like, really thin, striply fries that aren't, like, very oily, it can kind of work. But what you really want to hate is, like, the fat fries just dunked in oil, then on top of the cheese to the point where the oil just kind of leaks and off the pizza.
So what's y'all's
Now
opinion?
you make it sound tasty.
So, since we only have about an hour, I want to go ahead and get started. So, the reason that I got into contact with you guys was, so there's the whole, like, you will not be missed thing, right? I have a very, very different take on it, obviously. But I commented something along the lines of, I feel like this is a misinterpretation of the point of this on Asmagan's post. And I was called a racist for that.
Wait, what post?
This was on Asmagan's video about your email campaign. And yeah, I got called a racist for saying this was a misinterpretation. And
I know there was a comment. I know there was a comment strand on one of my videos where me and a couple other people were smarmily calling someone a racist, but that's because of what they said.
Yeah, I believe that was me.
Okay, that was you. Well, you kind of gave some poor wording because you gave the impression.
I can pull it up. Like, I'm not scared of my words.
All right. Let me see. I think I remember the post in question. This was on the Warhammers for Everyone email campaign, correct?
Yeah. Here, I got the notification right here. All right. So I said, so this is a joke I've been making about the email campaign. Why are you guys more willing to let Arch turn the Warhammer community into a bunch of Karens than let Games Workshop say racism is bad?
Yeah, there you are. I see. Yeah, the thing is, that was very easily interpreted as a very serious statement, though. That is the downside with reading comments that are text.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't hear tone of voice. We can't hear any sarcasm. So I saw that, and I believe the same people who responded as well saw it as the same thing, as it was another jab at what we're trying to achieve with the emails. So, for example, and I own up to this, I said, looks like we got us a racist here, and since I said you are a racist, that makes it so.
Right.
Time for you to leave.
Right. I'm not asking you to like answer for that or anything. I'm just saying that's why.
No offense, I wouldn't apologize for it anyway.
No, but that's why I got in contact with you. I've made jokes about getting Arch on here a couple of times because I feel like there are some either accidental or intentional misinterpretations of some things, right? So let me see here. I when I found out that we were going to have like an actual like conversation with Arch, I went ahead and made a few points. So the Warhammer You Will Not Be Missed. Go ahead and if you want to, like for the people that don't know you, give your take on that. I can pull up the picture as well because I have it saved right here.
Ready?
Here we are. So it seems to me like a pretty basic anti like or like we're on the side of like good stuff, right? I don't really I see you guys say the if not you will not be missed thing, but I feel like y'all don't take into the previous paragraphs or sentences.
Well, actually, let me interject here.
Yeah.
When it comes to my personal take on this community post, I thought it was fine. Again, I had a problem with the drawing of the line in the sand. I thought it was kind of aggressive, but initially I didn't have any problem with this community post. I thought a lot of people who did initially had a bit of a overreaction myself. But for me, the reason I now look at this post in a different light is actions on behalf of Games Workshop after the fact. How they've gone after Arch personally, how they're forcing him into illegal action at the moment. With all that's going on right now, for me, this puts this post in a whole new light. I now don't look at it the way I did, which I looked at it before as just a self-contained post. But this You Will Not Be Missed part, again, with the actions that they've propagated since they made this post, for me, I interpret that whole last paragraph or that whole last 3 lines as a lot more sinister than I initially did. So that would be my major boggle, if you will.
And Arch, is that about the same as you, or?
First and foremost, I would just like to respond to the chat that yes, indeed, #breedkibs. Don't worry, that's an in-joke.
Yeah.
It is a it's a very common joke.
Right, so like you said, in many ways, yeah, it's the standard virtue scene. You know, oh, we stand against these bad things, right? Okay, fine, I don't particularly mind. But then you get the last sentence where, if you agree, well, fine. If not, you will not be missed. Now, the reason why I react to this, because I've seen this precise thing many, many times before in many other hobbies since I've been, in the geek sphere for a very long time at this point. And immediately upon seeing that, I go, okay, this is an ultimatum of sorts. And you can also tell on Twitter, and the people who read this, they read it the exact same way. Because immediately thereafter, the attacks began on tons of people. Suddenly, Warhammer is like, oh, hey, we're going to trademark strike this word, not on your channel name, not on your channel description, but on Warhammer in general, which I still don't know if that was just an intern or whatever who couldn't word legal notices correctly. And then you also see people going after people on Twitter. The cancel culture is in full swing. And especially also during a period like this, where people are dropping like flies. I don't know if the Warhammer community intended for that to happen, but it was what did happen. And I knew that was going to happen the moment I saw it.
All right, so here's my thing. So I don't know if either of you guys are familiar with H-Bomber Guy. I feel like Arch might because he knows Sargon. But basically, he had this one video about woke brands, right? And that's basically the way I took this, right? Basically, you get woke points for this or whatever. Like, this is the, like, popular opinion. You don't really want to be, like, seen as, like, kind of racist as a company. It's not really going to affect... And I think even in your video of it, on the You Will Not Be Missed, you said this doesn't really matter, which is why I, like... am confused because I don't consume your content that much, right? I've started consuming it. I started a long time ago when I first got back into Warhammer at the beginning of 8th edition, listened to you while I painted, kind of dropped out, and then like due to all of this, I've seen a lot more of you. And I feel like you say that, like, I had the quote right here where you said, I'm here at my channel, here at Arch Warhammer, I'm of the opinion that it's for everyone. A hobby is literally for everyone, regardless of your race, your religion, your creed, your and even, indeed, for one of the most hated people around, white people. But I don't feel like if you agree with that, then this isn't aimed at you, right? Because I mean, I'm part of like a lot of groups on Facebook of some of the more pernicious members of the Warhammer community, right? And if you feel that way, then why do you feel like as if this is directed at you?
Because again, I've seen this before, and as you can see in the actions of the community immediately thereafter, this was seen as a carte blanche to begin attacking people.
Again,
because that is the wording.
That is
You know,
the thing we see around a lot. And sorry to interrupt you, Arch, but I do want to stress, though, that I got majorly into this because, again, the actions that happened after this post is what's far more telling than the post itself. If you just look at it in enclosed of itself, yes, you're right. It's really just an innocuous, brand-friendly statement. But again, you really need to take into account a lot of the fallout from this post. There's so much that happened that really is telling of what this post's real intention was. At least what it certainly feels like it was,
right,
as an after effect.
Right, but y'all made videos about this, or at least Arch did, before any kind of legal fallout happened. I don't understand why that's the argument in that case.
Well, I did
Well,
not.
no,
I did
that's
not.
the prophecy effect, isn't it? I go like, okay, I see this. This is mostly innocuous, but then they add in the "you will not be missed" part. That is going to cause trouble. That was my prediction, and well, here we are.
Okay. Oh, thank you for subscribing, Hannah. So I guess specifically in the "You Not Be Missed" video, there were a couple of things I wanted to ask you about, because like I feel like, so this is where I'm like, I feel like it's a, for lack of a better term, I don't really like this term because I don't think it actually means anything, but like snowflakey kind of like reaction, right? Like where like this is about me when it may or may not be about you, and the kind of like anti-woke, anti-SJW kind of thing. So like at one point you brought up the Ultra Smurfs, the poster or the book cover that has the black Ultramarine on it, right? And I have to ask, is it like, you're like, is there a good reason for this? And I mean, I heard what you said like immediately afterwards, but I still don't understand what you mean, because you say like, if this had happened 10 years ago, no one would ask any questions, but now they are. But like, does there need to be a reason to be black? Like,
no, but that's exactly it. There doesn't need to be a reason. That's what I meant when I said 10 years ago nobody would raise an eyebrow. What was his name? The guy from Dawn of War 1. I'm trying to remember his name.
Oh, I didn't play. Are you talking about like the first like original release? I only ever played
the original Dawn of War. He was an Inquisitor, was he?
No, I only played Dark Crusade and Soulstorm. I didn't get to play through the rest of them.
I haven't played through Dawn of War in 10 years, so do not trust my memory on this case.
But like, regardless, so like you like in the past, right? Games Workshop has had like, when you look at their older models and like
that was him too.
Yeah, and they're like older pictures of their products, like almost ubiquitously, they're all painted as white people, right? I don't think that this is like explicitly racist or anything, right? I feel like it's a English company, right? They probably just like painted it as like people that they saw around them, right? I don't really think that that's like super racist. But as they've gotten bigger, like, do you think that there's like anything weird about like pointing out the fact that they constantly have like are constantly pointing out that they have like people painted of other skin colors? Because I see that in the kinds of communities that talk about the woke points and the SJWs and stuff. They are constantly talking about the like, oh, look at this, they painted this guy black. And I don't want to like assign that to you if that's not how you see things, but
it's not how I see things personally, but I'll let Arch speak on this one. It's more towards him anyway.
Okay, so I'll try to explain it. My point was, 10 years ago, nobody would raise an eyebrow because you had, I believe he was in Dawn of War 1, but there was also Jonah Ryan. He's black and nobody cared, because the reason why nobody cared back then, it was not a thing being pushed. Right now, however, we see companies literally hiring diversity agents.
Right, and I also don't know why that really affects Warhammer itself. If people want to advocate for more representation in their hobbies, and you've already said that you're fine with different races and different and stuff, like, I don't know why that matters.
Well, why does it matter when GW says it?
I mean, I guess I don't really care what GW says. Like, I think it's nice.
Well, I do. I very much so do, because I'm of the opinion that a company is not my moral arbiter. It is not a moral entity, and I'm not going to take my morality from them.
I don't think that they're asking... I don't think they're asking you specifically.
I think they are. I think they're very much pushing for that.
But like, okay.
Well, when you write a message saying, if you agree, you're welcome. If you don't, you're not. I'd say that's a pretty clear signal.
Right, but Okay, again, you've already agreed with the body of the message, right?
Yeah, I don't agree with the end of it, however. I would say that even if you don't think that there should be more diversity in Warhammer, even if you don't agree with that, you should still be allowed into the hobby. Because it's just a hobby. It's plastic miniatures. And I don't want a company to have any sort of moral stance on anything, because I don't believe a company can be moral, especially not one that produces a lot of its terrain in China.
Okay, that feels like a non sequitur, but
Oh, what part of it is a non sequitur? Okay, my stance
China
is
thing.
the company should not be
yeah,
moral.
Okay, whether the company is moral or not, I don't think that they're pushing an ideology on you. This, like, every company has done this, and you pointed out in that video about the Bethesda thing with the gay pride flag, and then and wherever the else they didn't have the gay pride flag, right? And again, like, a company is going to do what makes it the most money. That's what a company does, right? And the actions of the company, I mean, like, generally speaking, yeah, it does show the kind of, like, way that social movements are going. So if you look, like, in, like, back in the 50s or, like, the early 60s, a lot of companies were saying, like, no, we don't want to have black people in our stores, and don't you worry, we're not going to let them, like, come in here, blah 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 blah. But after the civil rights movement passed and there was enough social pressure against it, they said, you know what, maybe we can have black people in the store, right? That's kind of like a good metric to look at, like, how a social movement is going, right? So when this happens, like, across, like, all of these companies and stuff, it kind of shows that, yeah, we're having a broader social change. We think that maybe we should have some sort of social or some justice reform, some sort of police reform, and move in a direction that doesn't disproportionately affect African Americans, right? And I don't think that it's pushing an ideology rather than just, like, following an ideology that, like, the broader, like, public is following, right? And so
that's exactly the point. I don't want the companies to be a barometer for this. I don't want a company to be a moral arbiter in any way. I just wanted to produce things. I don't ask them to have a moral stance.
They're there to produce products for us, the consumers. It's not their place to dictate to the consumer what they should and shouldn't think, especially when their product has no real world implications. At Games Workshop, they make miniatures.
And that is also why I have made a campaign literally saying nothing beyond, don't. Like, I would like for you to just remain a company. Don't be political at all. And leave Warhammer open for absolutely everyone. No ifs, no, you will not be missed, just everyone.
And that's why a lot of us support it.
Okay. All right, Hannah, you are in the call.
Oh, I think she's muted.
Everyone was muted beforehand.
Oh,
there she is.
Sorry.
You're good.
So, question for Arch. Do you believe that in the pursuit of the 40K hobby, everyone should have a reasonable expectation to feel safe when they are in their GW store or their friendly local game store?
I believe even someone who goes in there with an Arch t-shirt should have the expectation that he's not going to get attacked, yes.
Okay, but that's enough.
And,
Go for it, Hannah. Sorry.
so if someone told you that they had been harassed in the pursuit of the hobby, would you then deem that they were not safe in the pursuit of the hobby?
I would say call the police immediately. That's a serious complaint.
And if they had, and the police said that they had no proof and could do nothing about it.
Oh, then sadly, I'd have to be like, well, if the police investigate and they didn't find grounds for it, I can't then go like, well, the police must be wrong. I kind of have to go with them because, well, they are supposedly the experts.
Okay.
Okay, so
yeah, go for it.
I am a person who has personal experience of having been harassed in the pursuit of the hobby, and the prevailing culture of the 40K community makes it such that every time I speak about this, I get death threats, I get told I should kill myself, and I get told that I'm lying.
Lying?
Yes, that flat out people have called me a liar because they say that stuff doesn't
happen.
Oh,
the harassment. Okay, I'm sorry. I got a bit of a disconnect there. I thought in reference to talking about the hobby.
No, like, okay. I have literally been threatened to be been killed by somebody in a Games Workshop store.
Jesus.
Yeah, and
Okay.
like,
No, that sucks. But again, take that up with the police.
okay,
If
but
you
that's
ever
not
see
necessarily
stuff
a
like that,
like that's not a necessarily.
oh no,
something
that
you
is.
can-
If somebody call, I'm gonna and kill you. No, that is serious.
Right.
If
I mean,
somebody
yeah,
did that to me,
yeah,
in
you
real
can
life,
report it to the cops, but like, are they going to be able to like prove that they said that and then like get rid of them just because there's a like not a police
well, then no
report
one
that like
else in the
leads to
store.
Okay, yeah, but if everyone else is like doing the like tolerance thing and they don't like
I
do
don't
anything
think
about
people
it,
are going to tolerate that. Like,
Yeah.
maybe
But they
it's just me,
did.
but
No.
They did. That's the point. When you say that people who do those things and say these things are welcome in the community, you make it an unsafe place for people who are targeted. For women,
well,
for
from my
trans
sense of
individuals.
view, like, if this has happened to you, then again, you should take every measure you can to handle this.
I
But
have.
I cannot
Right,
say
but
that
Arch,
I
again,
must.
again,
Yeah, but
Arch,
I cannot just believe you straight up. I'm sorry.
listen, but like this is like why people are upset about it, right? This is why people, because like not everything can be like proven, but like if you're just like saying, hey, yeah, there's like a lot of people in the community that's doing like things, right? There's like a lot of people that say that, right? And I've experienced that myself. Like obviously I'm a like 6'1" like white dude, right? But like, and I don't get it the same kinds of like fallout that like a woman would or like a trans person would, right? But like I've seen people do this kind of stuff, right? And I have seen like it in threads all over the place, in like the more progressive Warhammer groups, you'll see people like just like straight up saying like, oh, man, everyone's been nowadays. Like, it's like, why can't we try and do something about that kind of culture in the Warhammer community? Why can't we like, you know, say that, yeah, maybe if you're gonna be like that, you're not welcome in the community? Because if we're gonna have people that are like standing by and letting people say, well, it was just like some sort of edgy joke that he was saying the thing, right? Like, then we're doing a disservice to the people that are like getting harassed and right? And I'm not taking like a super like crazy SJW stance here. Like, it logically follows that if someone is going to like sit there and like be at every single person that ever like claims that they've been harassed, or they've been like someone said something like about their race or about the fact that they're trans or anything about their gender or gay or like whatever, why are we going to like sit back and say like, well, you know, we also have to be tolerant of their points of view?
Well, you aren't. Like, you're sitting here right now arguing that we should get these people out of the hobby. You are already not being tolerant, and that's the thing.
But they're the ones that are not being tolerant in the first place.
But you're not understanding the point. There should not be legal consequences if the police don't find anything correct.
Okay, I'm not saying that we go out and arrest him.
Consequences. This is
I'm not saying we go out and fucking arrest them. I'm saying that maybe we should like tell people. Well, hold on. We're not telling people like, hey, we should go out and arrest every single Warhammer like fan that is saying like things. We're saying that, hey, maybe we shouldn't like condone the fact that maybe these people are saying some like pretty god awful.
Okay, let me rephrase my question, please.
Yeah, sorry.
One second. Let me rephrase my question. So, I understand that you are of the mind that the laws should protect people who are vulnerable. There is a failing, especially in the United States, of the application of those laws. And I, for one, think it's very heartening that Games Workshop has taken a view of, we are going to try to protect the people who cannot protect themselves. Is there something that you think is worthy of defense by a company? Or do you think that no company should ever take a stance to defend people that they feel are vulnerable?
Well, my view on it is, a company is not a moral entity. It does not have a moral compass. It will do whatever it thinks will earn it money at that point in time. If, to take a completely just out there extreme example to illustrate the point, if the Nazis won World War II, Games Workshop would be spewing Nazi talking points right now, because it's a company. That is why I do not think it should be considered a moral entity, because it will do whatever it can earn money on. If we were back in the 1950s, it would be hyper-conservative and so on. I would rather it just produces models.
But if the company...
Okay, so...
Yeah, go for it.
So what if, just thought experiment with me here, what if Games Workshop wants the money from the people who are being driven out of the hobby by a toxic atmosphere? And so by making it a safe place for those targeted individuals, those individuals are going to spend more money.
Okay. So that's a purely financial argument, essentially. Sure, maybe. And that's why they're doing it too. That's what I'm saying. They think this will earn them money, and so that is why they are doing it. But again, that can turn right around because it's all about the current day politics. And as the Overton window switches back and forth, the group that is being quote unquote protected will change. Like this is a weapon, so to say, that will be used against anyone and everyone as the tides of politics changes, which I would much rather therefore prefer it wasn't used against anyone.
But okay, but you're again like they're not okay. So like, why is it not a false equivalence to say that it's not okay for Games Workshop to support Nazi ideology and also say that they shouldn't be accepting people that are like harassers or like racists in the store? Why is that like an equivocation, right? It seems to me that like if we're gonna have like a tolerant, like if we're gonna go into Games Workshop and expect not to have like thrown at us because we're like a woman or something, that maybe we should have the company say, hey guys, like maybe we should stop with that, right? Like, it's their stores, right? It's their property, it's their like it's the culture that they want to have in their game, right? They want to have a culture where they don't have people
also say, no, you're a woman, keep out.
Wait, say again.
Would that be fine? Would it be fine if Games Workshop said, no, you are a woman, keep out?
It wouldn't be fine on that terms because they're excluding someone.
Wouldn't be
but
okay, would it?
They're not excluding people because of like a certain like something that they are born with, right? That's what the difference is. People aren't being excluded because they're born rapists or they're born conservatives or anything. They're excluding people that say, hey, don't. They're just saying, don't do bad things, right? They're saying don't do bad things.
That's the thing. You're like, don't do bad things. That's a moral judgment. Again, like if we go back to the 40s, that would have been an actual thing. They would have been like, no, this is wargaming. This is for women. Indeed, back in the day,
and would that be okay?
Was invented.
And would it be okay?
No,
for
but that's
people?
exactly the thing. That is why we should have a company go like, no, don't get involved. Don't say anything. Not anything on any side of the spectrum. Just produce miniatures.
So a company is not allowed to have a code of conduct for their customers.
A code of conduct for its customers? No, I don't think a company should say, okay, if you want to purchase our things, these are the list of things you have to abide by.
Not necessarily.
If you want to play in our stores.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to play in our stores, this is the code of conduct you have to abide by.
Well, yeah, in the case of like playing in the stores, there's definitely like the store code of conduct. I agree with that.
Yeah,
but that's like store to store. That's private property. Like, yeah, I don't think there's any argument against that.
Okay,
and is there any problem with the company supporting the code of conduct in their stores or friendly local game stores?
Well, I think
what they're not doing that here.
What? No, that's
if they have a notice on their door saying these are the rules we demand for you to step foot in our store, okay, private property.
Yeah, no, they're saying if you step foot in our store, then don't like start like saying some like horrible shit to people, right? Like, I mean, like that's like a very dumbed down version of what they're saying, but they're saying like we in this store are going to accept you if you're gay, straight, trans, black, white, Asian, whatever. We're going to accept you. And if you're not going to respect people on those bases, then we don't want you in our store. It's not necessarily saying that you can't buy it because there's online stores, right? And like, so what's the problem with that if they just like unilaterally do that?
That is a store. This is a company.
The company is the... What are you not
No,
getting
the
here?
company is not the store. The company is a far overreaching entity. It is the organizational structure that is the top of the stores. The stores are then the individual entities. As you mentioned, there is a web store. And making a statement, all the warcard.com team saying Warhammer, that is not a store, that is not an individual entity, that is the company, is an overarching entity.
Okay, so the company oversees a number of franchises, correct?
As in hobby, different types of it? You mean like Lord of the Rings, Warhammer, etc.?
No.
No, I mean the franchises of the stores. The Games Workshop store or the
Stuff
Warhammer
like,
store.
fan stores and licenses, yeah.
There might be Games Workshop stores.
Hold on, Hannah.
Like
there
the
might be a
physical
disconnect. There might be a disconnect because he's in another company or another country. There might be a different legal name for them. Here in the U.S., when there's like McDonald's are all franchises, right? It's not like yeah. So that's
it's a physical building.
Yeah.
Like the company owns the physical building.
Yeah.
Arch,
So go ahead. Go ahead, Hannah.
So do you believe that the company in and of itself is not allowed to dispense instructions and including this code of conduct to its franchisees?
No, I
whatever
think
that
that
word
was
is.
what I just said. But whatever they want to do on their private property, they can.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
Okay, but it is their
but that's
private
what they've done.
No, they put out a statement on Twitter stating this is the position of our company as a whole.
Okay,
That is
again,
not an individual store.
Arch, again, once again, they own these stores, right? It's not.
Yes,
It's not.
and in these stores they get to make the rules, but I'm not in one of those stores.
Holy
And you
fuck,
don't
but-
have to abide by their rules outside of their stores.
Precisely.
I think you guys just agreed, but didn't realize it.
No,
I've been in complete agreement for about 5 minutes.
I feel like I'm having an aneurysm because it's the exact opposite of what the
No, you are
words that you were
confusing the
saying.
company as an entire entity and the public property that is the specific storefront.
The company as an entity
It's telling
issued
people.
a statement that
Yeah.
goes to the community that is by
Mm-hmm.
far and away present in their stores.
No. My nearest Games Workshop store is 2 hours away. I used to purchase my models over the internet.
Okay, but
You
okay,
can
so
make yourself
again,
part of the community.
Yes, but the community is not the store. Games Workshop can tell me what to do within their store, and I have no problems with that. But Games Workshop cannot tell me what to do on Twitter or on YouTube.
okay, look, I'm confused about what you're considering is the company and what isn't the company, because the Games Workshop stores are the company. If you're arguing about like friendly local game stores, like an individual entity, I feel like Games Workshop would probably have a very difficult time if it was even possible to try and implement any kind of like rule set there. But are you saying that it's not even like reasonable for them to say like in our stores we like generally try and have like a certain code of conduct? I think there's a better word for.
If I may try and do my best to explain or create the bridge here.
Please
What
do.
Art, because I'm trying. I think I know how to do this. Forgive me if I completely fail. But what Arch is saying is, in their physical stores, they're allowed to set the rules. They're allowed to set the code of conduct. They're allowed to dictate everything. It's their physical property. It's their physical store. But what he's also saying is that the overarching franchise, the company as a whole, is also trying to dictate and control things outside of their physical stores. And that's what he has a problem with. Not the in-store physical franchise rules. That's fine. It's what the company is trying to enforce outside of their physical.
So if they have, so
Yes.
if there no,
But,
there's
right,
no way that
I
they can.
really have to run now. I
Okay,
already pushed it a
yeah.
little bit fast, so I'm sorry, but I really got to go.
And
Okay.
I could say and answer questions, but I'm not for
Yeah.
Arch, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
But yeah, thank
Nice
you for having me,
you on.
and thanks for the conversation.
All right. Maybe far in the future we can talk again.
Sure.
All right, would you like me to leave as well, or would you like to
I mean,
stay for a while?
if you want to stay, you're certainly welcome to. I was just going to say that like I really feel like there's like a weird, not double standard, but like perhaps it is a double standard, because like the community itself that would be going to those stores is still online, right? And if they're going to be telling people what they expect in their stores or in their community, right? Like I don't feel like it's like outrageous to be thinking that they can say that, right? I really don't understand, because it's like the statement that they put out was not that egregious. They're not saying no white males, but I feel like that's the way that a lot of people take it, and it's mind-blowing to me to make me think that like there's
Well, again, my problem, and I stood by this. My problem isn't the statement alone. I thought it was innocuous. It was fine. And again, I'm perfectly fine with the rules and stuff they're setting in their stores. I didn't even consider an issue with that. But where my personal issue enters in is, again, their actions after the fact. Their silencing of Arch, their requirement to
okay,
him.
but if their company image is being like throttled by someone because the image of them is like a fascist dude that like really hates trans people and says the N-word in like a lot of videos and stuff, right? Even recently, like, is that an
I have not
unreasonable
heard him
thing?
say the N-word recently.
I've literally, like, right after the Discord leaks happened, he was on stream and he was saying it again. Like, I don't understand.
Yes, but he was intending to piss people off. He was trying. He said as
Okay,
much.
well, if that doesn't matter, like, that still hurts their brand. If that is the person that is like heavily associated with them, then yeah, that it hurts their brand, right? Like, it hurts their brand in a like substantive way, especially for like a company. Like, it's a big company now, but like it's a fairly small hobby. It's not something that like a lot of people or not understand. Not a lot of people know about it, right? It's certainly growing, but if like people get into the conversation or into the hobby, right? And then they like see, yeah, no, there's like a lot of people that really like this Arch guy. Let me go check him out. And then like they see all the shit that's like associated with them, and they're like, well, f- it. That's crazy. And then they don't buy anything, right? Because they don't really want to be associated with that, right? I've been playing Warhammer for like 12 years, right? I've gone through like 12 different armies. I've been part of it for a long time, right? And they're like, until nerd culture really got accepted into like the mainstream, I didn't really like tell people, oh, I play Warhammer, oh, I play Dungeons and Dragons, I really like to play video games, right? I didn't say those things to people, right? And then when nerd stuff started getting more accepted, I did start telling people, yeah, I love to play D&D, I love video games, right? Star Wars, great, haha. But you know what I don't tell people that like are like well versed in like nerddom? I don't tell them that I'm into Warhammer until they tell me they're into it first. Because a lot of people associate it with fascists, right? They associate it with people that are really, really... And it's not because there's no reason for it, right? It's not out of nowhere. And that's why I get so frustrated with people like Arch. And I appreciate him coming on, but it's like the obstinance that he, and like willful ignorance towards this stuff that like most people that like come into the hobby now see, and even a lot of people that have been in it for a long time, they see like, yeah, man, you know, I see a lot of people that are like saying some pretty wild things. There's like there's a lot of really, really far right like Facebook pages and that are Warhammer centered, going so far as to be like openly fascist, right? And the fact that it's like he has blinders on, right? He only sees the stuff that he wants to see, and he can't see any other outside view. He has to have a police involved with every single instance of harassment, when not every instance of harassment is going to end in any kind of like actual like conviction or anything. You can be blithely to someone, right? And it can make them feel uncomfortable and feel not wanted, right? I'm sorry, I'm ranting at you.
Well, welcome. For people that are new, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Kick, I'm Sondsol. I am a political science student. I like to talk about politics. I like to argue about politics. We talk about all sorts of fun things on here, like drama and politics. And I like to argue with people and chat about a lot of different things. Like, comment, and subscribe. I don't like to shill all